Hi everyone, my name is Scott Sauber and today I'm going to be talking to you about how I've used Flyway to source control databases. I'm a consultant at a company called Lean Techniques, which is based in Des Moines, Iowa, which is in the center of the United States. And so I've been at many different clients, and so it's really common for me to walk into a scenario where the database just is not under source control at all. The only source control that might exist is comments that are made at the top of some sort of store procedure, view, or function. But comments leave a lot to be desired because you lose out on that full story of who made what change and when. And it's also common for me to see companies doing manual deployments and manual reviews of their SQL changes. Maybe a company where only a few senior people or some DBAs have production access, but nobody else does. Another thing that might happen is maybe way too many people have production access and way too many people can make production changes, which can be really hard to track down what the cause of an issue was when multiple people can make changes to production at any time. So I'm curious, if we pause for a second to think, does any of that sound familiar for your company? Well, if it does, the good news is you're not alone. So every year, Redgate puts out a survey on the state of database DevOps where they ask a bunch of different questions around the development lifecycle of databases. And in the 2021 survey, 62% of respondents said that they have their database source controlled. Now, I want you to take these numbers with a huge grain of salt because keep in mind, Redgate makes products to make version controlling your database easier. So I would not be surprised if the real number is actually much less than 50%. So the point I'm trying to get across here is, if manual changes are happening at your company, the good news is that you're not alone. But the other good news is that also isn't how it has to continue to be because many teams are source controlling their database. So how do I go about this? So a solution we've used time and time again, and one that I'm actually implementing at a client right now, is to use a product by Redgate called Flyway. So Flyway allows you to source control the database for many different database providers, such as Microsoft SQL Server, Postgres, Oracle, MySQL, and the list goes on and on. Flyway takes a migration-based approach where you tell it how to migrate from point A to point B of your database, such as adding a create table script if you want to add a new table. You can then put those migrations into source control, which gives you that end-to-end traceability that any source control system provides. And then Flyway can read those migrations in source control to deploy them out automatically to all of your different environments, no matter how many environments sit between your desk and production. So with that, let's go ahead and jump right into a demo. So I've gone out to Flyway's website and I've simply downloaded Flyway. And when you do that, you will get some sort of zip file or tarball. And at that point, you can inspect this and there's not too much going on. So the first thing you want to look at is under the comp folder, there's a flyway.conf file. And in here, you can specify what connection string that you're connecting to. In this case, I'm connecting to a local database, and you can see I've supplied my database name and the credentials. Now, obviously, when you go to hook this up to a CI/CD pipeline, you probably want to parameterize those things or retrieve them from environment variables or something like that. So if I go over here to this database and I go to this eShop database, you can see that there's no tables or stored procedures in here whatsoever. But if I go over here to my terminal and run a Flyway baseline, what a baseline will do was it will determine that, hey, I need to create this Flyway schema history table. So over here, you can see I've got this Flyway schema history table, and in here, it keeps track of what migrations you have run against this database so it doesn't run those over and over and over again. Now you can actually commit a baseline script that has all of your existing schema in it. So that way somebody can start from complete scratch and spin up an entire database. But in my case, I didn't have an existing database. This was a brand new database. So now I want to add a new table. So by default, Flyway will look in this SQL folder for any changes. So here I've just got this simple create table statement that creates a table of customers. So if I go back and run a Flyway migrate, you can see here it told me, hey, I've got this new migration to run and it's version 2, and I've successfully applied that to the database, and here's the amount of time that it took. So if I go back to my database, and if I rerun this query to inspect the Flyway schema history table, I can see here I've got my baseline script and then my new script that I just added. So if I come over here and refresh the tables, you can see I've got my new customers table, and it's got all of the columns that I specified in that create table script. But let's say you've got store procedures in your environment. So Flyway will by default run migrations in a versioned order, where it'll run v2 and then it'll run v3 and v4 and v5. So if I want to alter the customers table, I would do that in a v3 script. But Flyway can also handle repeatable migrations. So repeatable migrations will run over and over and over every single time that you change them. And so it's a really good place to put things like stored procedures, views, functions, that kind of thing. Things that you want to run over and over and over again. As a side benefit, when you come back in and change this, repeatables are in the same exact file, so you can see the difference of what exactly changed in your store procedure or view or function or whatever object it is. So if I come back over here and run another Flyway migrate, you'll notice it said here that it applied a repeatable migration. And I'm still on version 2, but it added that repeatable migration. So if I come back to the Flyway schema history table and rerun, you'll notice it included the repeatable migration in here as well. And if I come over here to store procedures and refresh, you'll notice now I have a get customers stored procedure. So this just gives you a brief taste into Flyway, and you can imagine hooking this up to like a CI/CD pipeline, but this kind of gives you just a brief walkthrough of some of the different functionality that Flyway can provide. So what do you get out of Flyway? Well, at the end of the day, I've seen lots of different benefits from implementing Flyway at a number of different clients. Number one, you get that end-to-end traceability of who did what change, how they did it, and when they did it. And these kinds of things can make auditors very happy about getting that insight into who's making changes in your production system. Another benefit I've seen is you can reduce the number of people who have production access, because now you can set up credentials that the pipeline uses and only give the pipeline access to make changes to your database. Another benefit is you can get a better local development environment. Now that you're putting all these changes into source control, whatever local database you're hitting against, you can just pull down the latest scripts from source control and run Flyway against your target database, and now you have the latest schema running against your local database or your dedicated database. As a result of all of these things, you can deliver value faster to your end users and in a more reliable way with fewer mistakes and bugs, because the process is automated and in source control. So in summary, I've seen Flyway used for huge databases with tens of thousands of database objects. I've also seen it used for multi-tenant scenarios where you have the same database schema, but replicated one per customer for isolation architecture reasons. So when you deploy to production in that scenario, you're not just deploying to one instance, you're deploying to thousands all at once. Flyway can handle just about any scenario that you throw at it. So I hope that gives you confidence to give Flyway a try the next time you're evaluating options for how you can get your database into source control. Thank you.